kid, when I saw Event Horizon, it scared the shit out of me. And still to this day, it still does. And I've heard like in other films where the cast or the production crew, when they're dealing with such kind of hellish, intense material, like sometimes it sort of transcends and it focuses and actually affects their lives in other ways. Did any of the cast or crew or yourself get involved in a way that that the nightmares kind of continue on either like during the filming or after the filming?
I mean, I definitely, like I said, I mean, some of the cast were, you know, they weren't the happiest bunnies coming to work every day. And, you know, it was, Jodie in particular, I think, had a tough time with it as well. She had a kind of young child, and at one point I remember we had to drag her away from Daisy's birthday party because we had to shoot with her and like tie her up in barbed wire. And she's like, I'm supposed to be having jelly and ice cream right now. So, I mean, I don't know if any of them kind of took. I often think about that poor boy actually who plays Kathleen Quinlan's son, who I just think he probably traumatized the poor lad because one of the things that isn't in the movie is when he looks down and his legs are all kind of withered and covered in sores. We actually did a different version of that where his legs were all withered and covered in sores and covered in maggots as well. And this poor kid, we kind of, to get his reaction, we had a sheet like this, so he didn't see what we were doing. And then we would roll and we would take the sheet away and he'd see his legs. And that's why his reaction is so good. Ah! But he was a poor boy and he's like playing this like PlayStation or something like that. And then we take it away and he sees his maggots and just burst into tears. And it was so bad. And actually that was in the very first screening. and that's why I learned a very important lesson that sometimes less is more. Because at that point, the audience was so horrified and traumatized already that when they saw the maggots, they're like, oh, get the fuck out, this is enough. And they actually stopped. It took them out of the movie. It was like, it was just one thing too many. And it just broke the suspension of disbelief because they just couldn't handle it. So we took that out, and I think that was definitely an improvement.
But I mean, just to answer your question, I've learned subsequently a lot of the actors were going through stuff that was definitely heightened by their experience. I mean, the central idea of Event Horizon is if you're guilty of something, anything, this ship knows it, and it's going to punish you for it. And you know, there are a lot of people who are having issues with their families because they were working such long hours. And there's the scene in Event Horizon where Sam Neill, he's so obsessed with his work that he ignores his wife, and his wife subsequently kills herself. So there was a sort of strange symbiotic relationship between trying to manage one's life and trying to manage one's work that I think filtered in. And as I said, having met the actors afterwards, people were going through stuff that we didn't really know at the time, but I think the film kind of accelerated it. I mean,
we didn't help.
We didn't help.
Didn't help.
We never really helped.
Anyone else? Yes.
Yeah. This is one of those movies that I saw when I was way too young to be watching. Like, I think I was 8 or 9 years old.
Well done.
Yeah. This must have made you feel old.
So, and I actually haven't seen it since, but it sort of remained in my mind, like, just the bar for what a movie should do. I should not be able to sleep for like 3 nights after seeing a scary movie. Considering how well you pulled that off, would you want to get back to doing that kind of really serious, dark kind of horror?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we talk about doing, we talk about kind of either revisiting the event story or doing something in that kind of mold quite a lot. Yeah, I think I would like to, definitely.
Yeah, because I think most of your movies since then have been like just more action, adventure kind of type stuff. But yeah, did kick-ass horror. So.
I would really like him to do it. I mean, please encourage him because he's a lot of with a film director you get the script, which is just 40% of what you actually eventually see on screen, and a lot of the really extreme but smart stuff visually. And I mentioned Sam Neill and his wife. This all came from Paul during the process of development. Particularly with this script, it was really just a blueprint. So I would definitely love to see Paul do a really hardcore R-rated horror film again.
Anyone else? Yes.
Are you going to, if it's a new Resident Evil, are you going to bomb nuke poor Toronto again?
Going to punish Toronto. We're going to need. We already nuke Toronto. We don't need to do it again.
Before we go, I just think a good one to go out on is you screened this movie for Kurt Russell before you guys asked when this was done and before you made Soldier. What did Kurt Russell say when he saw this film?
Yeah, we like you said, we screened it for Kurt, and he really loved the movie. And afterwards, he came up to me and he said, Paul, in 15 years' time, that's going to be the movie you're really glad you made. And he was right. I thought it was very generous of him to say that, and also very, I think because he had done movies like, Escape from New York, that, hadn't quite worked as they'd imagined at the time, but over time have become like a big, big cult hit. And I think he saw that potential in Event Horizon as well. And one of the things I'm particularly pleased about in the movie is how well the film holds up. Like 15 years on, the visual effects still look fantastic. And I think one of the reasons is they were all big, the spaceships were big models. Like, it was one of the last movies that really used like big giant models. And our visual effects supervisor, Richard Juricic, who was also the supervisor on Blade Runner, he really pushed to kind of do things in a practical way wherever possible. And I think we benefited from that because, nothing dates faster than CG. I mean, it's all cutting edge until like 6 months later when it looks really bad. And I think the model work in this, I'm really proud of it. Kind of old-fashioned, just an old-fashioned approach to movie making that I think really paid off for us.
Yeah, we also just finally, we had a fantastic DP, Adrian Biddle, who sadly died a few years ago, and we have tremendously fond memories of him. He was a very inspiring and influential DP to work with when we were just starting out in our careers. He was the focus puller on Aliens, and benefited from working with Cameron, and he was a tremendous asset on this.
Well, he started as the focus puller on Aliens, and he got promoted during the shoot to end up becoming the director of photography, because Cameron kept firing at people. Fired the original DP and made a camera operator the DP, then he fired that guy, and basically he was running out of people, so Adrian got promoted through the ranks and was the only one who managed to kind of survive the Cameron experience. So, and he became a huge director of photography as a result. Great guy, and I have very fond memories of him. Nothing ever fazed him, and he had huge lighting rigs for this movie, because we were doing so much practical, like the third containment, and so many practical lights. And he would just read his newspaper, and occasionally lower the newspaper. And we'd be doing these awesome looking shots. I go, Adrian, it's awesome. And he'd lower his newspaper and go, no, it's all right. That would be about as excited as he got. What a genius guy. I mean, I love the lighting in this film.
Excellent. Well,
Thank you guys very much. Once again, Jeremy Paul W.S. Before we go, I really want to give a special citation to that man over there, Morgan White, the director of the Rep, the man who actually set this entire event up. This was predominantly his idea. So give him a round of applause, because without him, none of us would be here today. I really hope you guys enjoyed the movie. It's a personal favorite of mine. Thank you guys so much for coming out. I really appreciate it. Have a great night, guys.